DZXL 558 RMN Manila. Extra large sa balita at komentaryo. Extra large sa tugtugan at extra large sa serbisyo publiko. Sama-sama nating silipin ang mga kaganapan sa bawat sulok ng Metro Manila. Mahigpit nating babantayan ang bawat issue sa inyong mga lugar at sabay-sabay nating bigyang solusyon ang mga problema sa inyong mga komunidad. Dito lamang yan sa DCXL, Pulso ng Metro.
Magandang hapon po mga kasama. Ito po ang Pulso ng Metro. Ako pa rin po si Deo de Guzman. Pansamantalang pagbibigyan po natin muna ng panahon para po ma-live natin ang nagaganap na pagdinig po ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Kaugnay naman po yan doon sa issue ng CGTA Good Conduct. Doon po tayo pupunta dahil po ito isang malaking issue kung saan po ay dapat malaman, matutukan ng mamamayan. Dahil po ito ay magbibigay sa atin ng pagkakataon na malaman naman kung ano po yung nangyayari sa ating bayan. Yan po isa sa mga malalaking usapin na dapat pong malaman at maihatid sa atin o ihahatid namin sa inyo yan. Wala pa ba si Grace? Ayan. Ang maghahatid po sa atin ang ating balita mula po dyan sa Senado, si Radyoman Uno, Grace Mariano.
Balikan po natin itong pagdinig na isinasagawa ng Senate.
Nawala. Balikan mo, tawagan mo ulit. Nagaganap po ngayon ulit ang Senate hearing diyan sa kung saan po ay imbitado ang ilang miyembro ng pamilya Sanchez, ang mga opisyal ng Bureau of Pardons and Corrections. Nandiyan naman po si Senator Gordon, ang chairman ng Blue Ribbon Committee, si Secretary Menardo Guevara, at pati na rin po si Undersecretary Faeldon, ang hepe po ng Bureau of Corrections. Wala pa? Pasok natin dire-diretso. Pakinggan na po natin mga kasama kaganapan sa Senado. Nagsasalita po ngayon si Senator Richard Gordon.
Undersecretary Peldon, do you have an answer? Or does Secretary have a better answer?
Well, to be frank, Mr. Chair, I really am not very sure about the state of compliance by the various agencies mentioned in the law regarding the provision on computerization and digitalization. So I cannot really answer the question of whether there is basis to charge them with malfeasance or misfeasance. It really all depends
that is what we're going to decide here. But you obviously know that this is vital.
Yes, there is no question that this provision of the bill, something of the law, is something that should really be implemented to the fullest, because that will eliminate a lot of human interaction when that system is in place.
As you know, there's every effort being made by the Supreme Court, and I commend them to computerize. Di ba? Para alam natin lahat ang cases. In fact, I even have a bill na lahat ng police cases malagay sa isang computer para alam ko saan court lalabas yan. In fact, one court in every province should be dedicated to police cases para nalalaman ng tao, para may nalalaman natin kung ano nangyayari. Or for that matter, the computerization should include hindi pa nagbabayad ng danyos perwisos itong mga tao pumatay na ito. And therefore, it behooves the government to protect the people that were killed para sa ganon, babayaran naman yung mga tao. Di ba? Nakita ko, mayroong 195,000 for judicial fees, pero may 3 million kada pamilya na Sarmienta at Gomez do sa decision. So, I just want to make the point. Do you have an answer, Mr. Yusek Meldon?
concur with the Secretary's answer, sir. And in addition, we have a limited computer capability at the Bureau right now, minimal to the records monitoring of the PDLs. As simple as when you want to generate the data of the PDLs, just put the prison number and it can automatically generate. So it's still very limited, not as sophisticated that the one you've just shown, Your Honor. But I will review the ISP of the Bureau if it has program to implement similar computerization, Your Honor, and recommend to.
But you agree it can be done, right?
Yes, sir. It can
It will be done.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It can be done.
Now, just one final question when you're trying to get do sa Supreme Court decision, ma'am. Sino po yung Elvira na mistress? Huwag kayo magagalit sa akin, ha? Lumabas sa Supreme Court decision, public record yan, na yun ang ginamit na alibay ni Mayor Sanchez na nandun siya nung nangyari yung kay Eileen at saka kay Alan.
I was the one.
So are you the common law wife?
Yes, I'm the common law wife for
Well, dapat doon sinabi nyo
Sanchez.
kanina yan, kasi medyo nalito ako, no? So, let the record state that Elvira here is the common law wife, and in the Supreme Court decision, which we all read here, nakalagay kayo andoon. And that is why, I'm sorry, I had to ask that question because kailangan lalabas sa atin, eh. I'm also sorry na I have to cite all the lobbying effort that you made because when we get a record here, we have to act on it. Kaya nga, nakita ko may record, may nagsasabi, pati nga mama ni Senator Amy, sinabi ko, para malinaw, wala tayong tinatago. And I think they don't mind because natural naman sa mga ibang mga leaders natin na nagre-recommend dahil bilang kultura natin. So having said that, Mr. President, just one very quick question from Senator Lacson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the permission of our colleagues, before it escapes my mind, because I forgot to ask this follow-up question to leave for another committee hearing. You said that you transmitted this address to Yusek Paildon. Since you have transmitted officially the release order, there must be an official recall. Do you have that document recalling that order?
I verbally instructed my staff to stop the process and recall the papers.
Isn't it a correct procedure that when you officially transmit a document, it necessitates an official recall of that document? You cannot just do that verbally. That's all, Mr. Anyway, there's none. There's none.
There's none. I did it verbally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We now recognize the Honorable Ronald de la Rosa, better known as The Rock. The Rock ba o The Stone? The Rock.
Bato na lang, sir, para...
A rock is bigger than a stone, no?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would like to ask Yusek Paildon, yung bang na-release mo na 4 na drug lord na andun ngayon sa BI, Bureau of Immigration, General Morente is here. Lima. Yung 5. O, pati may isa pa galing sa Davao. So, wala na, excluding doon sa galing sa Davao. Yung 4 lang na nasa BI ngayon, are they coming from Building 14?
Excuse me lang, I would like to, the late Commissioner Morante just arrived, so I have to put him on the road. Debate siya dumating eh, kaya nagbibigay ako.
Your Honor, we have not received any invitation, Your Honor.
Ha?
Wala po kaming invitation na
David,
tanggap.
was that in open barn?
Open yesterday, sir.
Yesterday, pinadala sa iyo. That's all right, don't argue with me na. I think, just stand up and
Sir, please
raise
raise
your
your
right
right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this investigation? Thank you, sir.
bigla abot sa BI yan eh, kaya inura ko na si Senator
Yes,
De La Rosa.
Mr. Chairman. To Yusek Paildon, na yung bang 4 na drug lord galing sa Building 14?
I was just informed, Your Honor, that they did not come from Building 14. It's from the Building 1D, Your Honor. The maximum, Your Honor.
Mabuti naman. Kasi, just in case, ma-approve by this body, yung sinasabi ni Senate President kanina na we will move for the recall of the IRR at ibalik sa DOJ at DILG para baguhin in accordance to the spirit na gusto ng mga, yung intention ng mga legislators na nag-craft ng law na yan. I would suggest to SOJ na sana isama nyo doon, sir, na once nasa loob ka ng Building 14, you are not eligible for GCTA. Because the reason why bakit natin sila nilagay sa Building 14, dahil yung mga drug lord na yan, they were continuously engaging in illegal drug business, kaya nilagay natin doon para ma-stop yung kanilang ginagawa. So meaning, they are not in good conduct behavior habang nasa loob ng Building 14. Do you agree with me, sir? Kung pwede ba yan ganon?
We can consider your suggestion, Mr. Senator.
Thank you, sir. At isang punto rin na gusto kong klaruhin, yung sinasabi ni Yusek Paeldon na one of the basis bakit niya pinahold kasi yung he suspected of bad conduct. Bad conduct. Yung pagtira doon sa kubol. Klaruhin ko lang, dalawang klaseng kubol dyan sa Bucor. Ito yung luxurious kubol na noon, nandoon yung mga drug lord at pinagigiba na noong 2015. Right now, mayroon pa rin tayong mga kubol dyan, but ito yung mga talipapa kubol na kawawang-kawawa talaga. Baka ito yung misconstrued, na kubol pa rin. Pero, baka mamaya sabihin naman na saan ka nakatira? Sa kubol, sir. So you are not, you are violating prison rules. So hindi ka eligible for good conduct behavior. Klaruhin natin dahil this will become double whammy doon sa mga priso na nakatira sa kubol because of government's inadequacy to provide decent and comfortable living quarters doon sa ating mga priso. Dahil yung bilibid na yan, that was designed to accommodate only about 12,000 prisoners, right? PDLs. And right now, 10,000. And right now, it is housing 36,000, I think, 26,000. During my time, it was almost 30,000. So you can just imagine the density of people cramped into a very small compound. Kaya, makita natin, pag gabi, umiikot tayo, pag taps, iniikot ko yan, pinapaslightan ko yung mga tao doon kung saan natutulog. Por Diyos, por Santo, makita mo yung mga matatanda, natutulog na lang sa kalsada, natutulog sa basketball court, natutulog doon sa tennis court, kasi wala na talaga silang mahigaan. Kaya kung sabihin mo na yung kubol, magiging using kubol is ground for bad conduct, unfair yan sa kanila dahil because of government's inadequacy, sila ay nag-resort to living a kubol. Gumagawa sila ng mga makeshift doon, pero hindi na ito yung mga luxurious kubol na gamit ng mga drug lord. So lang, gusto ko lang maklaro. Yun lang po, Mr. Chairman. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Well, precisely that is the reason that I filed the bill creating or establishing a different penal institution. I think Senator Subiri mentioned it yesterday. Para matiklag natin yan. And of course, ibalik natin, addressing it to the DOJ, o ibalik, gawin natin regional. There is already a study, and you know about this study, I'm sure. I've had it for many years already. The study says, pag kinulong mo ang isang preso at hindi na dinadalaw ng pamilya, doon nag-uumpisang magloko. doon nagiging salmahe, sumasali sa mga gang at kung ano-ano. Pero pag binibisita, paano bibisitahin kung nakakulong sa Muntinlupa ang pamilya taga Sultan Kudarat? Ang pamilya taga Bacolod? Kaya, I think it's about time, Secretary Guevara, gawin nyo ng regional talaga. Do it. At ihiwalay nyo yung mga heinous crimes and drug traffickers in an island somewhere near or in the West Philippine Sea. Anyway, the chairman is back. I think the next one is Senator Tolentino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to refresh the resource persons' minds here present today, yesterday I asked the Honorable Secretary of Justice to provide us with a copy of the prisons manual provided committee. Nabigay na po ba yun? Meron tayong kopya. This is the prisons manual dated 2000. Meron na po kaming kopya. Ang dami niyan. So, Mr. Chair, the committee is now being provided with a copy or copies of the manual which this representation asked yesterday. Dalawa. So may I ask the Honorable Secretary, when was this amended, if there was an amendment made? Thank you for providing the committee copies.
My understanding, based on information provided by the Bureau of Corrections itself, is that this Bureau of Corrections operating manual has not been modified or updated until the uniform manual on time allowances and service of sentence was formulated and published in 2017.
So ang sinasabi niyo po, Mr. Secretary, alam niyo po, kaya ginagawa ko to para makatulong din sa inyo, sa inyong kagawaran, maging sa Bucor. I'm sure you're referring to the new manual which is in our possession, yung uniform manual prepared by DOJ, DILG, BJMP, yung ba? Okay. Pero kung titingnan po natin na Mr. Secretary, dito po sa implementing rules sa IRR, circa 2014 na nakalagay po doon sa Rule 9 Operations Manual, and I quote, the Bucor, the BJMP, the provincial jails shall provide and each have their own new manual to guide them in the effective implementation and carry out the mandate of RA 10592 and these rules. Ang ibig po sabihin dito, maliwanag naman, lahat po kayo ay magkakaroon ng kanya-kanyang manual. Ang lumabas po ngayon ay uniform manual. Tama po ba ako, Mr. Secretary?
Uniform manual is the latest that we are aware of.
Subalit, Mr. Secretary, hindi po nagkaroon ng kanya-kanyang manual itong lahat. Wala pong bagong manual ang Bucor. Tama po ba yun?
That is correct, Mr. Senator.
Ito pong hiniling ko sa inyo, na panahon pa ni Secretary Toquero ay year 2000. Ang ibig sabihin po, hindi po natin sinusunod pa itong implementing rules ng RA 10592. Hindi po ba paglabag din sa batas yun na yung mismong IRR ninyo ay hindi nyo pa pinatutupad? Nakalagay po dito sa final provisions, faithful compliance with the provisions of this rule is mandated, the penalty of 1 year imprisonment, etc., etc. Kaya ko po sinasabi yan, Mr. Secretary. Kahapon, sinabi ko, due respect, the Supreme Court decision should have triggered the issuance on an amended IRR. Ngayon, kita ko, maging yung manual natin luma na. Ito po yung tinatawag nyo sa loob na Blue Book. Kung titingnan nyo po itong Blue Book, alam po ito ni Yusek Faldon, talaga pong luma na. Nakalagay po dito, 2 years imprisonment, etc., etc. At nakalagay na rin po dito yung good conduct time allowance. Paano po natin maipatutupad ng maayos yung batas kung yung maging manual natin ay luma na and outdated? Hindi sang-ayon doon sa batas na binalangkas noong 2013. Mr. Secretary, paano po natin mapapatupad na maayos sa loob kung yung manual natin ay luma? Tama po ba kayo na malaking kakulangan yan?
My understanding is that this uniform manual, which came out in 2017, is the guiding manual for the Bureau of Corrections as well as for the BJMP.
Yes, but the IRR provides that you should have your own individual and separate manual to guide your operations. That's Rule 9, Section 1. Going forward, Mr. Secretary, alam kong babaguhin nyo yung manual. Babaguhin nyo rin yung IRR para maitama na po lahat ito. Nakalagay po dito sa lumang manual na pinatutupad pa. Hanggang ngayon, ito pa ho yun. Nandito po lahat yung day-to-day, nandito po lahat yung mga day-to-day activities, nandito yung mga gawain ng mga preso, nandito yung gawain ng mga superintendent, etc. I quote Section 2, Part 6, nakalagay dito, who may authorize the release? The following are authorized to order or approve the release of inmates: the Supreme Court or lower courts in case of acquittal or grant of bail, the President of the Philippines in case of executive clemency or amnesty, the Board of Paroles and Pardon in parole cases, and letter D, the Director upon expiration of sentence of the inmate. Nakalagay po rin dito, I'm now directing this query to Yusek Feldo, nakalagay po din dito, functions of the Director. Number 1 function, the Director shall have the following functions. Number 1, act as an advisor of the Secretary of Justice on matters relating to the formulation and execution of penal policies, plans, programs, and projects. Yusek Faldon, kayo po ang advisor ni Secretary Guevara in terms of what is happening doon po sa New Bilibid Prison. Ginagawa po ba natin to?
I answer queries from him, sir, but rarely that I volunteer advices to the
So
Secretary.
siguro po,
Your Honor.
Yusek Faldon, I think we should review this. Yung functions po ng Director, nakalagay naman po lahat dito. As an advisor of the Secretary, palagay ko po, maganda, panaka-naka, tinetext nyo rin siya, o palalayain ko itong si ganito, may problema tayo sa ganito. Nang sa ganun po, maging maayos po yung sistema po sa loob. But let me zero in on one specific item. Yesterday, Senator Lacson provided this committee a copy of a corrections order issued April 8, 2019, relative to the release of Mr. Chen Chang, dated April 8, 2019. Alam naman po natin na yung petsang yon ay panahon ng kampanyahan, panahon po ng eleksyon. Are you aware, or is there anybody aware, coming from the side of Bucor, na meron po tayong Section 261 ng Omnibus Election Code? Ang title po nun, Illegal Release of Prisoners. Meron din pong COMELEC Resolution number 10429, Illegal Release of Prisoners from March 14, 2019 to June 12, 2019. Ito pong si Mr. Chen Chang, swak na swak po ito sa April 8, 2019. Hindi ko lang po alam kung ilan ang naging kabatch ni Mr. Chen Chang. So, aware po ba tayo sa Omnibus Election Code? Kasi very clear that this is in gross violation of the Omnibus Election Code. And in parity with the revised penal code, it would appear that it would also violate Article 223, conniving with or consenting to evasion, 224, evasion through negligence, Republic Act 10592, failure to faithfully comply with the law, and the Omnibus Election Code as well. Ang tanong ko po, Mr. Yusek Faldon, aware po ba tayo sa Omnibus Election Code na bawal mag-release ng preso pag panahon ng kampanya? Yes or no lang po yun?
No, Your Honor.
So, ang mangyayari po dito, even if GCTA is involved, and this is my submission, Mr. Chair, while the law provides that it cannot be revoked, ang tingin ko po rito, when the GCTA was granted, it was in clear violation, willful violation of existing law, especially the election code. Therefore, it is void. Mr. Secretary of Justice, tama po ba yung submission ko?
If it's against the law, then it is void.
So, ang ibig sabihin po, lahat nung na-issuehan ng GCTA, nung panahong yon, and I hope, with due respect, Yusek Feldon, ilan po ba yung na-issuehan nung period na March 14 to June 12? And I hope this committee can be provided with the list.
We will provide the Honorable Committee the list, Your Honor. We'll provide the list, Your Honor.
So, hindi lang po ito si Mr. Chen.
It's really a day-to-day releases, Your Honor. So, my assumption right now is marami po sila, sir, including non-heinous crime offenders, Your Honor. There might be thousands, Your Honor.
So, thousands, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me.
For several months.
A very good point by the Senator. We asked for that from day one. The list of prisoners. We have not gotten anything from you.
We have already provided the list, Your Honor.
Heinous crimes.
Heinous crimes and
No.
the non-heinous crimes, Your Honor.
I just asked them. Huh? Just the names and the total. And the date. Anong date? No records.
Mr. Chair, can we be provided with the dates, especially
No, that's
those
why we're
encompassing the election period?
Yes, Your Honor. We will make a special list for the period of the election, Your Honor.
Meron dates.
Yung records of good behavior, conduct, good conduct and bad conduct, yung mga brownie points. Because when we make the law, hindi pwedeng 1 month lang.
Submit, Your Honor.
Huh?
And in compliance with yesterday's directives, Your Honor, we also have here the list of the supposed 11,000 that will benefit from the retroactive effect of Republic Act 10592 for submission, Your Honor.
You know, kailangan natin yung minutes of the meetings. Nabigyan niya na ba yun? Help to discuss. Consider grant of GCTA to, especially to high-profile prisoners such as Antonio Sanchez, Chen Chichang, those convicted for the rape and murder of the Chong sisters, at the very least. Pero dapat dagdagan niyo yan. And the names of all the drug lords released. Submission of copies of their carpeta and all documents pertaining to the release. List of names of the 2,159 persons whose crimes were categorized as heinous crimes who benefited from GCTA.
We will comply all of those requirements, Your Honor.
Now, I have no request but to call another hearing. But anyway, we have to call another hearing because sabihin ko na sa inyo, we will have a TWG for all the bills that we're going to file in connection with this, including the Muntinlupa transfer, including the separate Supermax jail na in an island in Palawan or whatever it is. We are not decided yet. But this will all be part of that next hearing. So please, make sure you have that because we cannot just look at it and say, eto na, we have to really review everything.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one last suggestion before I throw a question to the Honorable Commissioner of Immigration. Yung suggestions ko po kahapon para maayos talaga yung sistema ninyo. 1, have an amended IRR. 2, produce separate manuals for Bucor as well as the Board of Pardons and Parole. Kasi circa 2012 pa ito. Hindi ko alam kung meron na kayong bago, 2000, after the RA 10592. Suggestions ko lang po yan. Plus, Mr. Secretary, if you can provide, as insinuated yesterday, your wish list para maayos natin yung mga pending bills. Maraming salamat. Alam ko naman gagawin mo yan. Last question, Commissioner Morente. Yun pong mga napalaya na nasa inyong kulungan ngayon na foreigners, ano pong petsa po ang date of release at commitment po sa inyo. Pasok po ba ito doon sa election period?
So, Mr. Chairman, the honorable members of the committee, at from January to 16 August, Your Honors, we have 16
No, I'm referring to the
foreign
period,
nationals.
if I may interrupt you, from the period March 14, 2019 to June 12, 2019.
Only one, Your Honor. One. I think from 26 April 2019, covering the period that you stated, Your Honor,
Turnover
Up
is
to-
different from date of release. So, yeah.
up to 26 June 2019, we have received a total of 11 foreign nationals for deportation, Your Honor.
Siguro
From Bucor.
mas maganda po, Mr. Commissioner, padala nyo na lang yung records kasi magkaiba yung turnover date at saka po yung date of release. Ang pinagbabawal po ng batas ay yung date of release covering the election period.
Yes, Your Honor. Ang sa amin po, yung turnover lang. But for the information of the Senate, of the 16, only one was deported, Your Honor. A Taiwanese lady who was deported just this August 29, Your Honor.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chair. I yield the floor. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much. Those are very good questions and pertinent. I just have one very quick question para before I call Senator Go. Yung bang pag dineport nyo, anong procedure nyo? Dapat i-turn over sa Chinese authorities yan, tapos itatry sila sa China, ganun ba yan?
The procedure for the turnover, Your Honor, it's the Bucor will turn it over to the Intelligence Division of the Bureau of Immigration for biometrics, and then the Intelligence Division will recommend to the Commissioner for the acceptance. And then the Legal Division will issue the charge sheet for undesirability. Afterwards, a commitment order will be given to the Bureau of Immigration Warden Facility. As it is being done, a summary deportation order is prepared, which will be tackled by the Board of Commissioners. And once it is approved, the order will be given to the Legal Division Deportation Implementing Unit, who will implement the deportation. Consequent, as the summary deportation order is issued, we inform the embassy so that they can issue the travel documents and the ticket, Your Honor.
Now, I just want to be sure, pag tinurn over nyo, baka mamaya pagdating sa kanila, papawalan yan, babalik na naman dito yan, magluloko na naman yan mga yan, di ba?
We are not sure of the...
That's why we really have to find
Yes,
out,
Your Honor.
coordinate with the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of Justice, that when you turn over a convicted drug lord here, and then they're turned over, they're properly under guard, they're received in China, and we should know, based on we have an extradition treaty with them, di ba? With China?
In China, Mr. Chair? Yes.
Yeah,
We do
based
have.
on that, we should be able to know that when they extradite, they are duty bound also to prosecute them in China, aren't they?
They're supposed to do so because that's precisely the reason for the
That's the point of the extradition. So, we just want to be sure na hindi i-recycle yan dito later. Baka pawalan eh. They are not as, I think they are at times more corrupt than we are. As some of our people are. Di ba? I'm not saying that facetiously, but that can happen.
They will automatically be blacklisted, Mr. Chair.
Of course, but we are very porous. There are islands where anybody can get in. Senator Go, is recognized. Are you going to ask questions? And then Senator Subiri.
I'm addressing my question to Secretary Guevara. You stated yesterday that there is a joint committee formed to address the issues surrounding GCTA. The Filipino people deserves to know the proposed remedies regarding the release of the convicted felons through GCTA. What are your proposed remedies? Will they be rearrested? How will you implement the rearrest? Pwede bang gawa ng paraan legally kesa po magkakalat ng lagi muli? Mas delikado pa ang publiko, kaya shoot to kill na lang dapat. Pag ayaw bumalik, pag lumaban at ayaw bumalik, kung may basehan po yung pag-rearrest, pwede bang gawaan po ito ng paraan? Yun po ang gustong marinig ng publiko.
Thank you, Mr. Senator. On the matter of the amendment of the implementing rules and regulations, as well as the guidelines being followed by Bucor and also BJMP with respect to the recomputation and appreciation of GCTA, good conduct, and other benefits like special time allowance for loyalty, etc., etc. This joint committee is has already been constituted. We have issued the appropriate joint department order, and the joint committee is, I suppose, on its third day already of work. We have given them a time frame of 10 working days within which to complete their review of the existing IRR and guidelines, and to submit the same to the secretaries concerned. That means myself and Secretary Anyo, the DILG, for approval. Now, as soon as we have completed this process of revising the IRR to specifically include a very explicit and concrete statement that these benefits will not apply, among others, to people or PDLs convicted of heinous crimes, then we shall act accordingly in relation to those guidelines or IRR once they have already been in place. We just, as I explained earlier, Mr. Senator, we just want to make or to do first things first. We have a plan of action that we just want to put in place first, the revised IRR, the revised guidelines, so that if asked, we already have a legal basis as well. Of course, we are very much aware about existing jurisprudence on the matter, and we are bent on considering that favorably. We are aware about the case of People versus Tan, as correctly cited by Senator Dillon yesterday, and we are taking, of course, that jurisprudential rule into very serious consideration. So we are taking action on your question, Mr. Senator. It's just that we want to finish first the revision of the implementing rules and regulations.
Thank you very much, Secretary Guevara. Anyway, I will give my closing remarks. As I have mentioned yesterday and several times before, the Filipino people want answers and solution, not endless debates and more questions. The law may be ambiguous, but what is clear to me that there is either negligence or corruption in the way our correctional system is being handled. I say to the Filipino people, mananagot ang dapat managot. Yesterday, Secretary Guevara pointed out what is lacking in the law. Today, I have solutions. I have filed Senate Bill number 1003 to clearly state the intent and policy of the law not to extend the benefits of GCTA to prisoners who are convicted of heinous crimes. In this bill, I added a provision that will very clearly state that persons who have been convicted of heinous crimes will not be eligible to be granted time allowances. To serve as a guide, I added a provision that lists heinous crimes To eliminate corruption, I also added a provision stating that any release of prisoners on the basis of time allowances shall be subject to review. Congress will also know what is happening with releases, as the Bureau of Corrections will be required to furnish the legislature with a report twice a year. All of this will form part of our continuing fight against corruption and criminality and illegal drugs. Hindi ko na po hahabaan, baka mapagalitan po ako ni Mr. Chairman. Mahaba. Ang mahalaga po rito, narito tayo para sa interes ng bawat Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Farbit. Nakagalitan ko si Bongo. Ba't ko na makakagalitan? Senator Subir is recognized. The Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, to our dear Secretary, Sec, we appreciate the inputs you gave yesterday on the amendments, possible amendments to the GCTA law. As we said yesterday, what was clear was this law was not clear. A lot of vagueness in its provisions. And so we filed last night Senate Bill number 998, similar to what Senator Bongo had filed. And we have now pending in the committee one bill offered by Senator Gordon, Senator Lacson, and Senator Soto on the repeal. But I believe there's a change in tactic, no, and change in the advocacy today, which is basically less punitive and more reformative. So we're going to now move for the amendment of the law. And one amendment, as you mentioned, we place a separate article, and this is Article 97A, on exemption to allowance for good conduct. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, read for the record, the provision, and I'm not sure if my staff can do what Senator Bongo did and place it also on screen, that exception to allowance for good conduct, the provision contained in Article 97 of this code shall not be applicable to those convicted of heinous crimes. And we spelled it out, Secretary, as you mentioned, such as murder, rape, robbery with violence or intimidation, kidnapping with serious illegal detention, parricide, destructive arson, and other heinous crimes as defined under Republic Act 7069, and or those meted out the capital punishment and violations of Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs of 2002. So we made it clear, a separate standalone provision, Secretary. I think for all lawyers that are here, that is crystal clear. And then we also amended some section or Article 99 on who is the final decision maker, Secretary. As I mentioned yesterday, with due respect to the incumbent and former heads of Bureau of Corrections who are possibly non-lawyers, they're law enforcement officials, we decided to place this provision wherein the DOJ still has to be reviewed by the Department of Justice. And to quote, who grants, Article 99, who grants time allowances? Whenever lawfully justified, the Director of the Bureau of Corrections, the Chief of Bureau of the Jail Management and Penology, and or the Warden of the Provincial, District, Municipal, or City Jail shall recommend grant allowances for good conduct, subject to the approval of the Secretary of the Department of Justice and the Secretary of the Department of Interior and Local Government, because that's where the police, the PNP, lie in, as the case may be. May I get your comments on these two amendments that we propose, Secretary?
The proposed amendments exactly fit what we have suggested yesterday, Mr. Senator, and I thank you very much for sponsoring a bill like that. However, if I may add,
yes,
I also suggested that a provision on transparency be included in the bill so that people who might be affected by the release of persons whose sentence has already expired by virtue of good conduct may also be properly notified, so that if there is any contest or any challenge, then that can also be tackled.
Thank you, Secretary. As a matter of fact, we also, unfortunately, we filed this bill already, but during the committee deliberations, we'll ask the chairperson to include a provision as well, as you mentioned, the oversight of Congress. I've authored several laws, Secretary, renewable energy and the other laws, wherein we put oversight functions of Congress, especially in the approval of the IRR, so that what was mentioned by Senator Soto earlier, by Senator Lacson, Senator Gordon, Senator Dillon, the essence of the law is not lost. Because our frustration as legislators, secretaries, that we pass a law, but the implementing rules and regulations amend the law some way, somehow. It's not what we were, that was not the advocacy that we were pushing for or advocating for when we were passing the law. And therefore, we put a provision, if that is acceptable to the department, wherein that there will be oversight functions of Congress in the approval of the IRR within, for example, 60 days or 90 days. Is that acceptable to the departments?
Very acceptable, Senator.
Thank you, Secretary. And I'll keep it brief. Secretary, I think we're all in unison here on what had happened is truly appalling. Yesterday, maybe I was misquoted by one news item because they said that I recommended a co-warranto. I never recommended a co-warranto. I just said the analogy. It is similar to a co-warranto case wherein the requirements for application for a position was wrong or kulang or nakulangan, and therefore a co-warranto proceeding can be done to public officials in public office. But my analogy is with this case wherein prisoners were wrongfully released because the application of the law was not accurate, Secretary. So kami lahat, naniniwala po kami lahat na sana mahuli muli po itong 2,000 criminals of heinous that did heinous crimes or convicts of heinous crimes. I know it's difficult in your part. You're a lawyer. I know lawyers are very careful with the decisions. However, I'd always err on the side of the victims. Kawawa naman yung mga biktima dito, Your Honor. You know, I was not a member of the Senate then, but if I was, I would have voted against it. Because I don't believe in laws that favor the criminals rather than the victims. In this case, there was an injustice done to many of these families. I would err on the side of the victims on this case. No, and then let them take it up to the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court says it is unconstitutional, give them back their freedom, then so be it. But at this point in time, as we research the records of the Senate, the senators, and not to mention anymore who the senators were because the authors are no longer here to defend themselves, the advocacy at the time was only for crimes, minor crimes, and exemption to heinous crimes. No? They are not supposed to have availed of this good conduct and time allowance, Secretary. I hope you can find your way in being able to come up with a decision. I'm not a lawyer, so we'll leave it to the lawyers. Come up with a decision, file it with the proper courts for the possible rearrest because of the wrongful release of these prisoners. I really cry, or I mean, you know, my heart cries out to those victims of these crimes, Secretary. Imagine yourself in their shoes. They had to endure years of trial, and finally they thought that they had the justice that they deserved, only to be robbed again from them after several years. So, Mr. Secretary, maraming salamat po, and you have our support in this committee. Thank you.
No. I just said we should listen to what Senator Subiri said, because you know, strong men cry too, and I think that's his point. Senator Bengi, you still have questions? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Subiri.
Apropos Senator Tolentino's question on the election ban, and I'd like to address this to BID. Yung mga na-turnover sa inyo ng mga persons, no, na released by Bucor, does it not contain yung dokumento sa tao? Does it not contain the other circumstances, say when they were released? Pangalan lang ba dumating sa inyo?
Your Honor, it contains some of the records.
Okay.
from the
So
Bureau of
I'm
Corrections.
particularly interested in the case in the case of the 4 drug lords, yung Chinese drug lords, sina Ho Waipang, Wu Hingsum. Meron ba record dyan kung kailan sila na-release? Kasi I understand they were released sometime in June, but turned over to you. Please,
Yes,
correct.
Your Honor. They were turned over to...
No, not turnover, yung release date. We're more interested in the release date than in the turnover date.
We will have to research on the release date, Your Honor.
Pero meron kayo?
I think so, Your Honor.
Hindi mo lang nadala? Can you
Yes, sir.
quickly ask your staff para bago tayo matapos, you can... because, you know, the reason being, we're still deliberating on whether or not they can be brought back to Muntinlupa. And by the Secretary's own opinion kanina, sabi niya, kung illegal yung pagka-release, they can easily be rearrested or brought back to Muntinlupa. So para just to save us from further deliberations on the turnover again of this Chinese or turnover back to Muntinlupa, kung it will be established that they were released prior to June 12, no, or on or before June 12, then outright pwedeng ibalik nyo na kagad sa Muntinlupa yung 4, di ba?
Yes,
Or
sir.
5. Nasa inyo pa ba si Chen? Yung si Chen Chang, nasa inyo pa rin? Who was released last April, covered by the election ban, April 26, April 8. Chang E-T-I-Z, E-Tiz. I think he's Taiwanese.
Tang, sir.
Yes.
We received an email from Bureau of Corrections, but if this is the same person, sir, prison number N97P-2420.
The name is, it's either
Chen Tis Chang.
Yes, that's the person.
He was not turned over to us, sir.
Not yet turned over?
Yes, sir, but
Yusek, Peldon, yung pala si Chen Chang, hindi pa rin na-turn over? So nasa Davao pa or baka na-release na?
I will find out, sir, because
Yeah,
that's from Davao, sir.
Kasi that's very important because
Yesterday's Senior Superintendent Faustino's report was turned over to BI Davao.
yun. BID Davao. So kindly find out
We'll also check
because
that.
he's
Yes.
very well covered by the election ban as pointed out by Senator Tolentino.
yes, sir.
So hindi na kailangang mag-summary deportation proceedings because illegal yung pagka-release niya. Yes,
I
please.
have the dates of the releases, and they are all, based on the dates, it's April 1 to June 4. In
Yeah.
between those dates, those
Okay.
were the dates this subject PDLs were released.
Yeah, and Chen Chang is one of those.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yun.
There's two qualification in the Bucor manual. I don't know if this is, that it can nullify the Omnibus Election Code. It says that prohibition of Section 9, sir, prohibited release inmates during or after election 60 days before, except for valid or legal reasons. So we have to review if these are covered by these exemptions, Your Honor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the manual against the provision of law, which is the Omnibus Election Code. And between the manual and the law shall prevail.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
if the manual is not in consonance with the provision of the law, I think we should respect the law rather than the manual.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, so kindly inform your Davao branch or regional office
I'll do it.
to baka ma-deport from Davao yan.
They will have to turn it over
Okay.
to the Bictan facility, sir.
So when was he turned over to Davao? Kasi kung April 8, siguro give or take 1 week. Or no, not give or take. But after 1 week or within 1 week, na-turn over na yan. Anyway, if he is there, then he is there. And we still have custody of the person.
The actual release, sir, is April 1, sir, of Chen Chang. TIS. April 1, sir.
April 1. So anyway, what's important is if he is still there. Ang problema, baka wala na doon sa... Kasi matagal na eh. April 1, it's now September 3, wala pa dyan sa main office, baka may problema.
We'll check it, sir. Baka yung na-check ng aming warden was only for his particular facility.
Yeah, thank you. Now, gusto kong balikan yung point ni Senator Drilon kanina, yung kay Mayor Sanchez. Just for the record, na-aresto siya August 13, 1993. Para lang ma-educate nyo kami sa computation ng GCTA. Arrested August 13, 1993. Arraigned September 12, 1993. So, and then the promulgation of sentence was on March 11, 1995. Kung 2 years yung preventive imprisonment niya, lalabas dito, 1 to 2 years is minus 20 days, di ba? 1 to 2 years. Good conduct. Assuming na talagang wala siyang violation. So entitled siya ng 480 days, yung first 2 years. Now, 3 to 5 years, that's another 3 years, 23 days, so 828 days. 6 to 10 years times 25 days, yun ang nasa batas. 1,500 days. 11 to 16 years, times 30 days na yon. So, 5,760 days. Ang total na nag-gain niya, assuming na wala siyang violation whatsoever, 8,568 days. Divided by 365 days, dumalabas yan, 29 years yung credit. And i-add natin yon doon sa kanyang 26 years of actual confinement. Therefore, tama yung computation ninyo, 49 years, nag-exceed na siya doon sa 40 years. That is on the assumption na wala siyang violation. Now, can we get hold of the records? Hindi lang yung inabot nyo noong nag-take over kayo, nag-assume kayo as Bucor Chief. Dapat covered lahat yung starting August 13, 1993, doon sa preventive imprisonment. Assuming na ang interpretation sa batas, because nagkagulo-gulo kasi itong 10592 when we amended Article 29 and Article 97, di ba? Yung sa Article 29, and please correct me if I'm wrong, kasama yung sa computation, yung preventive imprisonment. Pero inamend din natin yung Article 97 na ang computation lamang upon conviction. Therefore, noong sa pag-compute, pinaghalo-halo ito sa 10592. And there lies the defect in the law. No? Dahil pinaghalo-halo na, nagka-confuse na tayo kasi sa computation, hindi na natin alam kung isasama ba natin yung period ng preventive imprisonment, meaning, since capital offenses ito, no bail, so kine-credit yon. Ang problema sa Article 97, upon conviction, sa 10592, hinalong kalamay na natin, nagkagulugulan na yung kwenta. So, Mr. Secretary, anyway, this will be asked pagka nagkaroon ng committee hearing, but bigyan nyo na lang kami ng bird's eye view how to correct this error. Can you please, paano natin reconcile para makorek yun?
Yeah, we have certain gaps in the existing GCTA law, certain provisions or certain statements that seem to be misplaced, so to speak, and provisions that need to be coherently interrelated or integrated. So, depending on the policies that the present Congress will adopt and develop, then probably that will also be the major guideline in how we can go about improving these laws pertaining to good conduct time allowance. It really all depends also, from my point of view, on what congressional policy will be, this present Congress, on the matter of our correctional system.
Thank you, sir. But na-monitor ko yung isang media interview ninyo. Ang sinabi nyo rito, Section 3 has two different classes of people. The second being any convicted prisoner in any penal institution, rehabilitation or detention center, or any other local jail. Can Sanchez fall under the second class? Your view, ang sabi nyo, no. Although the mayor falls under the general class, he is disqualified by implication. By implication. So you're not concluding, under the specific class, statutory construction. And therefore, a basic rule in statutory construction states that specific prevails over the general. So yun yung opinion nyo as of now. But of course, hindi naman absolute yan because it remains as an opinion.
That is true, but I have already made a categorical statement as well that the DOJ interprets the exclusion of those convicted of heinous crimes.
Yeah.
Yes, from all the benefits under the law.
All the benefits,
that,
regardless.
GCTA law.
Regardless.
I'm sorry.
Regardless
Those
kung
convicted of
heinous
crimes are excluded.
Wala na yung preventive imprisonment, hindi na ipa-factor yon.
Yes, because doon sa provision in Section 1,
Yes.
Senator, with respect to preventive imprisonment, very clear na excluded doon
Yeah.
yung mga charged with heinous crimes. So it's really more with respect to the other benefits like good conduct or time allowance for loyalty.
All the more that they should be excluded.
Yes, because they're already convicted, so with more reason that they should be excluded from the benefits.
Maybe another feature that we should include, kung nahulihan na shabu sa loob ng kulungan, he should be disqualified altogether, even assuming na hindi absolute yung interpretation ninyo na talagang disqualified na sila. Sa good conduct time allowance computation, kung criminal offense na yung, may nasaksak sa loob, pwede pa bang makredit yon sa following month? Dididakan lang natin ng 20 days do sa month na nagsaksak siya or nagsabo siya. Parang it doesn't make sense that
It doesn't make sense to me either, Mr. Senator. So,
but it is not in the law. So maybe when we craft the final version of this law, we might as well include na wag yung administrative offenses lamang yung ika-count natin sa deduction kung hindi nag-violate. But once a criminal offense is committed while inside or while incarcerated, dapat altogether wala na. Hindi po ba?
Well,
can we hear the view of the... yeah, anybody, sir?
If somebody committed a very serious crime while incarcerated or while imprisoned, of course he will be prosecuted separately for that crime.
Of course.
Or for that
But for
offense.
purposes
In addition, I subscribe to the view that good conduct time allowances may also have to be, well, I don't know if those already earned will have to be totally obliterated altogether, or he will not be entitled to any future good conduct time allowance. It's a matter of policy.
Yes. And sa computation ng good conduct time allowance, yung time, siguro wag yung per month basis, siguro pag nag-violate, i-back to zero natin. Is that a good suggestion? Halimbawa, kasi nagkaroon ka ng offense, sabihin natin administrative, babawasan ka lang ng, hindi ka lang makaka-avail ng 20 days kung first 2 years. Pero hindi kasama yon doon sa mga previous na nakasave ka. Maybe a good suggestion should be, pag na-violate ka, you're back to zero, as if you did not have any good conduct at all.
That may be incorporated in any new law that you will enact. But having said that, you have to repeal that particular provision of the existing law that says that any good conduct time allowance already granted cannot be revoked. So I guess that particular statement or provision should be completely deleted if the intention is to bring back all GCTAs back to zero if a certain PDL committed a serious offense during incarceration.
May we hear the view of the Bucor Chief.
Yes, Your Honor. Just like in the academies and other officers' school,
Yeah.
we have graduated gravity of offenses with corresponding punishment. I would suggest
Demerits,
that
parang demerits.
it will be done that way because it's very easy to identify the usual offenses of persons deprived of liberty. So we can easily enumerate them with corresponding X number of days or month of suspension of their GCTA, Your Honor.
Like demerits, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Parang graduated, hindi isa lang yung
Yes, sir. Hindi
demerit
siya
system.
graduated siya. So that
Depende sa gravity.
if the offense is, depending on the gravity of the offense, Your Honor. And if I may recommend, sir, one strong controlling to avoid these activities of PDLs inside, if we may consider membership of the gang in any jails as disqualifications from GCTA every day if they continue to be members of the gang. Because based on the studies we conducted, Your Honor, quickly, if the chair will allow, the gang members, 83% of them are on our streets. When pusher will order 1,000 kilos of shabu, it can be easily disposed by the gang members in the street within 24 hours. That is how powerful the gang system in this country is. That's why prohibiting gangs in all our jail facilities, I believe, will drastically limit the activities of criminality because syndicated na po yung criminal natin sa kalsada. If I may recommend that, we will make it unlawful for membership of gangs in any of our jails. That will disqualify them every day from GCTA if they continue to be members of the gang, Your Honor.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, yung tattooing is already an offense, di ba? Tattooing, I read somewhere, pagka nagpatattoo, that's already a violation sa GCTA. Ano ba yon? While you have the tattoo, you continuously are denied the good conduct time allowance?
Yes, sir. We are now...
edi lahat ng preso, walang good conduct time allowance.
Right now, sir, there is a process at the Bureau of Corrections to remove the tattoo. We are implementing that right now, Your Honor.
Just for the record, Rule 29, Rule 1 on prison violations 29, tattooing others or allowing him, her to be tattooed on any part of the body or keeping any paraphernalia to be used in tattooing. Actually, the suggestion was made the other day by yours truly that especially sa detention prisoners, kung wala pang tattoo yung bata na papasok doon, dapat nakabukod para hindi siya matatattoo. Ang sabi naman ni Senator De La Rosa, yun ang ginagamit nilang protection pag pumasok sila sa gangs. Now, we should not be defeated by these people. So dapat, huwag magpapatattoo because sabi nga ni Jose Cueldon, pag nagpatattoo, talagang masasama na siya pati sa drug dealing. He becomes a hardened criminal. So that's something that we should consider in the...
Yung membership sa gang, we may have a problem of congestion kasi pagka walang gang, walang riot, wala patayan. So, you should be prepared for congestion of jails. Ano? Anyway, levity aside, may nabanggit kanina for transparency's sake. You know? Is it already in your procedure na before a person can avail of GCTA, kailangan kukunin yung comment ng victims' relatives or families, and then the prosecutors, kasama na ba sa procedure ninyo?
Sa procedure yun.
Nandun.
Pardon, sir, that's the procedure.
Sa parol.
Yes, sir. But for the Bucor, GCTA, it was not part of the
hindi kasama.
rules, Your Honor.
So, anyway, kung hindi kasama, siguro pwedeng isama for transparency's sake, diba? As suggested by the Secretary of Justice. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner Morante.
Mr. Chairman, may I give a feedback already on the question earlier posed by Honorable Senator Lacson? Sir, Chen Tis Chang was received August 8 in Davao field office. Whereas the 4 Chinese drug lords were discharged from prison assigned by Chief Superintendent, Correctional Senior Superintendent Bonifacio Lambiget of Bureau of Corrections last June 4, 2019. These are Chin Che, Chang Chit Yue, Wu Hin Sung, while Ho Wai Pang was discharged on June 6, 2019.
Discharged from
prison, Your Honor.
and turned over to BID.
Yes, they were turned over on June 19, Your Honor, it appearing that they are covered by the election ban.
Okay.
So if
No, the election ban
to be
hanggang June 12 eh. So were
Yes, sir.
they released before June 12?
before, sir, June 4 and June 6, Your Honor.
And Chen is still in the custody of Davao.
Chen is still in the custody of Davao, and we are requiring him to be
Turned over to
turned over to the
Oh,
Warden Facility in
Central
Bicutan, Your Honor.
Mr. Secretary, pwede na natin ibalik sa Muntinlupa kasi void na yung kanilang release. Kailangan pa bang pupunta sa court or we just apply the Omnibus Election Code? Because regardless of the provision na the grant of allowances shall not be revoked, pero kung illegal naman yung pagka-release, pwede na nating para hindi na matuloy yung deportation. Of course, naka-hold sila sa deportation, but it may be a better idea if they're turned over back to the National Bilibid prisons.
That is a very positive suggestion, Mr. Senator, and
Applying
right.
the law.
Exactly. We just feel that maybe they're already in the custody of the Bureau of Immigration. For all intents and purposes, they're still in custody.
Yes.
But if the preference is for them to be brought back to the National Penitentiary, I think that can be really very seriously considered.
Applying the law.
Applying the law, of course.
Mahirap yan kung nagkabayaran. Baka anyway, no, I'm just joking. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't joke, that's real. Let me just point out na in consonance with the statement on notice to offended party and publication of names of PDLs, this shows you how convoluted and how confusing all the rules that have been made, and that's why we're really looking into this. The cover page says this is Uniform Manual on Time Allowances and Service of Sentence. And then when you go here to section 14, nakalagay, notice to offended party and publication of names of PDLs. As to crimes with private offended party, the Bureau of Pardons and Parole shall notify the said offended party. Doesn't say anything about this, but it is covered under the title, time allowances. So, what is your view on that? Should they be furnished? Should they be told? I think they should be told, di ba? Again, as Senator Subiri says, he will err on the side of the victim.
We're referring to the Bureau of Pardons and Parole.
No, the Bureau of Pardons and Parole for yung mga applications doon, they have to notify the offended party.
Yes, that
Pero
is
sa
correct.
good conduct time allowance, wala nakalagay doon sa law. Pero dito sa manual, nilagay nila as a general heading, notice to offended party and publication of names of PDL. My contention is they must inform. Hindi lang sa Bureau of Pardons and Parole, but for good conduct allowance. It's common sense. You make the law work. You make it harmonious to what the objective of the law is. And the intent of the law is to make sure that justice is served. Di ba?
Yes, we agree with you, with your statement, Mr. Senator. That's
Thank you.
correct.
We shall now call on the Honorable Senator Bong Revilla. While we're at it, the next hearing will be on September 5 at just to tell you, we'll have two hearings. We'll have a hearing on PhilHealth on September 5, and we will finish by 3 o'clock, and we will start the hearing right away on this. It should be the final hearing on this, hopefully. wrap up and to include all the laws that we're going to have to discuss. That's why we're really listening intently to all these proposals. Go ahead, Senator Revilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Susundan ko lang po yung line of questioning ni Senator Soto kanina, ni SP Soto. I was a member of the 15th Congress that unanimously passed into law the now controversial Republic Act number 10592, which amended several provisions of the revised penal code, including the provisions on allowance for good conduct. Bakit po ba natin ipinasa ang batas na ito? Dahil maganda po ang adhikain nito? Yes? Mr. Chairman, are you listening? Okay. Bakit po ba natin ipinasa ang batas na ito? Dahil maganda po ang adhikain at layunin nito. 1, to decongest our jails. 2, to put premium reward to inmates for good behavior. And 3, to emphasize a rehabilitative rather than a purely penal system as far as service of sentence of certain accused are concerned. Simply put, the law aims to uphold the state policy of restorative and compassionate justice by promoting prisoner rehabilitation and successful reintegration into mainstream society. Why the need to remember and emphasize the premier intent of the law? Because amidst all the hysteria and the call to repeal the law, there's a need to put into context why the first place the law was passed. Maganda po ang layunin ng Republic Act 10592 na ito at naayon sa umiiral na polisiya ng ating Estado na ma-rehabilitate ang mga nagkasala at mabigyan ng pagkakataon na magbago at maging kapakipakinabang na miyembro muli ng ating pamayanan. Naway sa pamamagitan ng hearing natin na ito ay magkaroon ng tugon ang maraming tanong patungkol sa implementasyon ng batas sa GCTA. Having said that, let me ask some clarificatory questions to Bucor. Yusek Faldon. Maaari niyo po bang sabihin kung paano ang implementasyon ng GCTA sa ilalim na umiiral na batas?
Currently, Your Honor, it was clear that those who have been charged of heinous crime are not entitled to GCTA while undergoing or credit for preventive imprisonment while undergoing preventive imprisonment, meaning while they are undergoing litigation at the same time being detained. All those who are there's exclusion under Section 1 of the law you have crafted, Your Honor, that excludes recidivists, escapees, habitual offenders, and those charged of heinous crime. But the interpretation of the Bucor and the other jail facilities of Section 3 of the same law included the same force who have been excluded upon conviction. That's why they were given, granted GCTAs upon conviction, Your Honor.
Under the existing implementing rules and regulations, IRR, of Republic Act 10592, meron pong tinatawag na Management Screening and Evaluation Committee, or MSEC. Ano po ba at ano ang tungkulin ng committee sa pagpapatupad ng GCTA?
Sila po, sir, yung nagko-collate ng data that will satisfy the granting of GCTA doon sa isang PDL. Kagaya po ng doon pa sa buwan na yan ay wala siyang naging infractions dito sa mga naka-enumerate na 49 offenses or continuously participated in the 6 transformation activities such as sports, religion, studies, and others, Your Honor. And then the screening committee will submit to the chairman of the screening committee. Locally, we call that local MSEC when these facilities in San Ramon, Zamboanga, the chairman of the MSEC there is
Sila yung bumubuo
superintendent.
nitong MSEC na ito?
Yes, sir.
Sila po.
Yes, sir.
Sino po ang pumipili at paano sila napipili?
Ang ginagawa nila, sir, there is a continuous record of PDLs engaged in several activities. Like ALS for the high schools, we have non-degree courses. In some facilities, we have degree courses for those who studies. A lot of them also are qualified to do teaching and mentoring because some are teachers, some are engineers, so different qualifications to make them earn time allowances, Your Honor.
Meron pong pamantayan na sinusunod ng MSEC, no? Sa Section 4, Rule 5 of the IRR of Republic Act 10592. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for the record, Mr. Chair, I would like to read the first paragraph of the said Section 4, Rule 5. It states that the Bucor, BJMP, and provincial jail shall give special considerations to satisfactory behavior of the detention or convicted prisoner consisting of active involvement in rehabilitation programs, productive participation in authorized work activities or accomplishments of exemplary deeds. It is understood that in all instances, the detained or convicted prisoner must faithfully obey all prison jail rules and regulations. Let me just emphasize the last sentence. In all instances, the detained or convicted prisoner must faithfully obey all prison jail rules and regulations. Dito po, pumapasok yung puntos na sinasabi ni Senator Lacson kanina. Hindi masasabing good conduct ka kung isang buwan kang sumusunod sa batas, no? Kumbaga sa susunod naman ay hindi. Dapat holistic po o pangkabuuan, no? Kung ang katauhan o asal ng isang prisoner, kumbaga titingnan pangkalahatan. Tama po ba, Director Faldon? Kung ba itong buwan na to, maayos ka, so susunod na buwan, hindi.
The manual, sir, is that the granting of, including IR, the granting of good conduct time allowance is a monthly basis, sir. So they only need to be good this month, and next month mayroon infraction, wala sila the next month, the following month, good boy na naman, mayroon naman sila, sir. So that is the subject of now revision of...
So, halimbawa sa isang taon, sa isang buwan, okay ka, tapos hindi ka okay, pag kinumpit mo sa isang taon yun,
kung ano, sir, mayroon siyang 6-month na good behavior, sir. That is the current manual that we are following, Your Honor.
So, hindi ka papasok dito sa GCTA pagka ganun?
During the month that they behave, they can earn, Your Honor.
Si former Mayor Sanchez ay kabilang sa maximum security classification. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin pagkabilang ka sa klasifikasyon na ito?
Ito yung mga may sentences that's more than 20 years. 20 years and more, Your Honor.
Dahil kabilang si Mayor Sanchez sa maximum security, maigpit ang supervision sa kanya at sa mga katulad niyang bilanggo. Tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
May pagkakataon po ba na nakalabas ng NBP si Mayor Sanchez or sa maximum security prison?
We're still validating, sir, the report that he has undergone surgery sometime in 2015, but at the Muntinlupa. But these are normally covered by request and approval from, we will not allow, the approval of hospitalization is up to the Secretary level of Justice. If the absence is done officially.
Mm-hmm. May lumabas po kasing larawan ni Mayor Sanchez na dumalo sa kaarawan ng kanyang anak. Ito po yan. Naimbestigahan nyo na po ba ito? Ito po ba sa loob ng kulungan or sa labas po ba ito?
We are still investigating that, Your Honor, and up to when was that done? The initial report is, I get that is the time when mayroon siyang kubol, but nung araw, but it was corrected later on that it is during the time he has an operation in hospital. These are still to be validated, Your Honor.
Nandito po yata yung anak. Gusto niyo pong sagutin? Ito po ba nangyari sa loob or sa labas?
Good afternoon po,
At
Mr.
kailan po?
Senator.
Go ahead.
Yes po, ako po iyang nandyan sa larawan. At yan po ay kuha po, na-ospital po ang aking ama noong 1 taon sa ospital po ng Muntinlupa. Mabibigay ko po sa inyo exact na araw kung kailan po iyan nakunan at hindi po iyan kuha sa loob gaya po ng sinasabi po.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. At naimbestigahan niyo po ba, tama po ba yung sinabi?
The hospital na paglabas niya, Your Honor, yun yung latest namin alam. So the exact date and the matter of the granting of the hospitalization, we will report to this committee, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, sa Department of Justice, Secretary Guevara, lumabas po sa pahayagan na pag-aaralan ng DOJ na magkaroon ng recomputation ng aplikasyon ng GCTA sa kaso ni Mayor Sanchez. Kailan po ba lalabas ang resulta sa ginagawa niyo pong review at recomputation?
We gave the Joint Committee, Mr. Senator, a period of 10 working days to complete the review and recommendations to the Secretary.
10 more working days.
10 working days.
10 working days. Okay. Bukod po sa kaso ni Mayor Sanchez, may review at recomputation din po ba ang DOJ para sa sinasabi nating sa more than 24,000 PDLs na nakalaya o makakalaya dahil sa GCTA?
The review will cover the existing implementing rules and regulations as well as existing guidelines being followed by the Bureau of Corrections. And these guidelines, Mr. Senator, apply to all inmates or PDLs.
Under the Uniform Manual on Time Allowances and Service of Sentence, every month po ang computation ng GCTA, di pa ba? At sa ngayon po ba sa ganitong implementasyon o interpretasyon sa provision ng allowance for good conduct under Section 3 of Republic Act 10592, which amended Article 97 of Revised Penal Code? Tama po ba?
It seems that that is the practice being followed, the computation on a monthly basis. But as I said, everything will be subject to a review by the Joint Committee to find out whether this monthly computation is something that is logical to pursue or to continue.
Okay. For my last question, Secretary Guevara, ang pagbibigay po ng GCTA po ba ay isang pribileyo o isang right o karapatan?
It is not a right in the sense that it is demandable by the PDL or by the inmate concerned. I guess it's really more of a privilege.
Privilege. So,
Rather
pag
than
sinabi
a
po nating
demandable
privilege,
right.
yes, go ahead.
Yes, because this is subject to evaluation. So there is discretion on the part of the evaluating committee to determine whether in fact he acted or he conducted himself properly within that given period. So it's not a right that is demandable in my opinion.
Okay, so it's pagka-privilege, pwede pong cancelahin. Tama po.
Yes, sir, in accordance with the guidelines.
With the guidelines.
Yes, Mr. Senator.
Okay.
May I just add, it is a privilege, but once, what is your view once it has been given? Does it become into a vested right? And if it's a vested right, kuno, if it is illegally given or improperly given?
The provision as it presently exists says that whenever GCTA is granted, it cannot be revoked. That is a general statement, in my opinion, Mr. Chairman.
That's a general rule. But
Yes, as a general rule. So if it was improperly given or given against or granted in violation of the law, or the person to whom it was given was not qualified or eligible in the first place, then that grant of GCTA can be revoked.
as has been demonstrated by the Supreme Court in 3 cases, at least that we know.
Exactly,
That's
Mr.
correct.
Chair.
So I just wanted to be sure na naintindihan ng publiko yun.
Yeah.
Hindi naman ito entitlement, pero pag nakuha na yung right, pwede maging right na yun, ibibigay sa kanila, pero kung improperly and illegally given. Now, my next question, para to pursue with the permission of Senator Revilla.
Yes, go ahead.
Supposing hindi nagbabayad ng, hindi nagre-remorse, hindi akong gumawa niyan, sasabihin niya gano'n, at hindi nagbabayad ng daños perjuicios, yung katulad dito sa case ni former Mayor Sanchez. Una-una, does he qualify?
Those are not part of the existing guidelines, Mr. Chair, but I was asked the same question yesterday, and I said that lack of remorse or non-payment of the civil obligations arising from the crime speak so much about the moral fiber.
That's correct.
Of the person concerned, and in my opinion, that is something that should be taken into account as well when the PDL's good conduct or behavior is the subject of consideration.
Yes. And when somebody applies for executive clemency, there has got to be remorse as well, right?
I guess that's a principal consideration on the part of the Board of Pardons and Parole whenever
That's
a PDL applies for executive
But in
clemency.
their decision, it only said the gravity of the crime. It didn't say without remorse. So may I call the attention of the Board of Pardons and Parole on that matter? Di ba dapat may remorse bago ka bigyan ng pardon?
Your Honor, can I answer?
Please, could you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, I am the administrator of the Parole and Probation Administration.
Oh, and I say identify, you have a name, right?
Manuel, yeah, I am Administrator Manuel Co.
Manuel Co.
Yeah,
You're a lawyer?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Ganito po yun. The question is as to remorse, no? First, the case of, let me go on the particular case of the former Mayor of Calauan. Outrightly, when we initially reviewed the application for executive clemency, we already decided to deny the application of the application for executive clemency, considering of the gravity of the offense.
That was in November.
That was in the
2018 November. if I'm not
yes,
mistaken,
Your Honor.
yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Considering
And in
that.
February 2019, what happened?
No, February 2019, we again, there is a motion for reconsideration, and again, we deny it on that basis. So, yung gravity of the offense, considering that if we will be recommending this to the President, it will depreciate the seriousness of the offense committed. That was our position. The whole board decided on that particular issue. So, as to remorse, we have to look into with these particular factors if the board will deliberate more and require for some other documents.
Let me cut to the chase.
Yes.
How can you apply for clemency, which is forgiveness, if you are not remorseful?
Yes.
In other words, it's a condition sine qua non.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hindi pwedeng mag-apply ka ng clemency na hindi ka hihingi ng awa at hindi mo aminin at hindi mo babayaran yung dapat mong bayaran. Tama po ba yan, Mr. Secretary?
That applies not only to applications for pardon and conditional pardon, but also for amnesty.
That's correct. That's why we are slicing the carrot, so to speak, until we get to the bottom, and that's already stated by the Secretary. So, malinaw lang yan dahil I just want to make sure that we are on the same page, especially on the Bureau of Pardons and Parole. And also heading now to good time, time allowance, good conduct time allowance. Kailangan malinaw rin tayo dyan.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's why I said earlier, and Secretary Guevara agreed na dapat, may may remorse. Hindi lang tayo retributive justice dapat kung mapu-forgive natin, pero forgiveness implies remorse. I'm sorry, I will not do it. And that's something that, kaya ako sinasabi yan, para yung mga nakikinig ng mga bata dyan, kailangan you have to own up to your commitments in life. Na kailangan pagka kung may ginawa, you own up to it and you're accountable. Yung mga bata nakikinig, para sa ganun, alam nila na may pananagutan. My father used to tell me, pag nagkamali ka, you have to pay for it. Kaya yung record mo dapat palagi maayos. And speaking of record, just one statement here in the manifesto in behalf of, I know Senator Mix really said that. Alam nyo sa Facebook maraming trolls At makikita nyo pare-pareho sila sabi na bakit raw kami pinayagan namin yung batas na yan, bakit raw hindi namin habulin yung mga author. Una, hindi po ako member ng, kami ni Senator Mix, hindi kami member nung 15th Congress. Wala po kami nun. Para yung mga natutrol, huwag na kayo mapagod. Pangalawa.
Sino yung author? Pakisabi kung sino yung author.
Hindi. Alam na naman yun. It's a public record. Let them sweat it out. But as far as I'm concerned, ang mali dito, mostly is the IRR.
Correct.
That's why we're going after the IRR. So having said that, please proceed.
That's right, Mr. Chairman. Maganda po ang layunin ng batas na ito. Yung pagpapatupad lang nagkaroon tayo ng problema. So, sa IRR. So, siguro po ay pag-aralan natin mabuti para hindi po tayo muling magkamali at nang hindi masyadong lumalaki po itong gulo ng katulad nangyari ngayon. Again, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much sa inyo pong lahat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Revilla. Here, Senator Subiri will take the floor. He's the majority floor leader, so he can grab the microphone anytime.
Thank you. Just only us left, Mr. Chairman, together with Senator Go and Senator Revilla. Secretary, on the issue, somebody called me earlier, happens to be the governor of Isabela, Governor Rodito Albano.
Yeah.
I think he's very interested in this case. On the case of Pemberton, the American Marine who killed a kababayan of Senator Gordon, what is the status of the... Hindi, yung babae? Pero nangyari sa Olongapo. Yeah, that's right. The crime was committed in Olongapo. Maybe know from the Secretary the status of the case? Or...
He's still in detention, as far as we know. No, in a special facility.
In Aguinaldo, I think, or... Aguinaldo, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. So he's still in detention.
Right. He's still in detention, and the arrangement is by virtue of our bilateral arrangement with the U.S.
We're aware of that. Yeah. I visited him in the embassy before.
Yeah, right.
So, ito nga yan.
Before we end, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary, just for the information of the body, we also have several bills, as I mentioned yesterday, on the maximum security prison that we intend to file. Senator Soto filed SBN number 2, which is the Anti-Drug Penal Institution Act. But we all agreed to increase the coverage. So Senator Gordon yesterday filed also Senate Bill number 983, as well as yours truly, Senate Bill number 1004. This is an act establishing separate facility for prisoners convicted of heinous crimes. So this is similar to the Supermax. In the United States, it's called Supermax facilities, or what you call administrative maximum, or ADX. One particular facility, if I'm not mistaken, is in Colorado, and it's a maximum security jail. That's where they put the worst of the worst, those who commit heinous crimes. Mr. Secretary, we'll also ask your opinion on this matter, because we want to pass this immediately. We have a consensus from all the members of the Senate to pass this measure immediately, and hopefully we'll be able to find a place to house this facility, preferably in an isolated area, because as part of the Supermax, in part of the part of the bill, which is Section 4, there shall be established a heinous. This is similar to yours, Your Honor. There shall be established a heinous crimes penitentiary or prison facility under the Bureau of Corrections. It shall be built in an isolated or in uninhabited area, or in an island to be determined by the Secretary of Justice. Kayo po pipili ng isla. Preferably, wala masyadong cell site, tsaka mall, para hindi makalabas yung mga preso. The heinous crimes penitentiary shall be gated, shall have maximum security manned with sufficient prison guards and personnel of the Bureau of Corrections, and preferably the prisoners are in solitary confinement. Heinous crimes penitentiary may be established in several regions of the country. So, as mentioned by Senator Soto, it could be regional, meaning island-based, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and or particular one facility to keep the security maximum, Mr. President. Actually, Mr. Chairman, there are offers even from the Governor of Palawan. Governor Alvarez has mentioned that he has perfect place to locate this in Palawan, Your Honors. So, sana matulungan nyo din po kami that we find also of course, support from the Department of Justice as well as the Bureau of Corrections.
This should be taken up already. I'm glad that Senator Subiri raised that. This should be part of our final hearing para we can immediately next week, in about September 5, in a couple of days. Couple of days. So kindly, Secretary, kindly take a look at it para we can, everybody wants to rush this because narinig nyo kahapon si Mrs. Sarmenta na she's Gomez, they're both anti-death penalty but they want them kasi sabi nga niya isang eleksyon lang, wala na. Gusto din talaga para maging deterrent yan, talaga nakakulong yung mga tao at nakahiwalay sa population and a very, very specific place. There is a statement here na dapat lagyan raw ng mga pating pero sabi ko huwag niya nang lagay yung mga pating, hindi kakainin yun because of professional courtesy. What I was saying. So, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, words of habit. I just want to get as a final one because we keep getting texts here na sabihin raw yung mga pangalan. Or you can get it anyway, it's a matter of public record yung nag-pass ng bill without, I don't have to mention their names. Enough is said that kami ni Senator Subiri wala doon. Inamin na ni Senator Revilla na nandun siya. Maybe you can ask Senator Revilla. But as I said, it is not the bill itself, the law itself, but the implementing rules and regulations. So, yeah. But the IRR was drafted by Senator Rojas and former Senator Rojas and Senator Laila de Lima as DILG Secretary and also as DOJ Secretary. Go ahead.
You want me to state on record, Mr. Chairman?
Everybody, I just said that public knowledge. But anyway, go ahead.
It's a public knowledge anyway. Senator Angara, Edgardo Angara, Joker Arroyo.
That's a senior, right? Senior?
Right, senior. Miriam Defensor Santiago, Franklin Drilon,
yes.
Senator Jingo Estrada, Senator Juan Ponce Enrile, Francis Jesus Cordero, Gregorio Honasan, Pampilo Lacson, Manuel Lapid, Osmeña, Pangilinan, Pimentel, Coco, Ralph Recto, myself, Your Honor, Senator Soto, and Senator Trillanes.
So, yeah,
just for the record, I mean, maganda po ang layunin ng batas na to. Ayaw po namin talikuran yung aming pong, kaming bumoto para maipasa ang batas na to. That's why, ang gusto po natin, masunod ng tama ang batas. Huwag tayong lumihis doon sa kung ano man yung gusto ng batas puntahan. At sana po ipagtulungan natin yon. Maraming salamat po. Dahil kawawa naman po yung mga preso na nagdudusa na minsan ay talaga namang gusto magbago na talaga at tulungan din natin sila. At kailangan magkaroon din po tayo ng puso sa aspeto na yan.
Thank you, Senator Revilla. Final question to NBI. You were conducting raids once upon a time and you were able to get cell phones, guns, money, jewelry, all kinds of prohibited paraphernalia in prison. Is that correct?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon, yes.
We have to know if when was the raid conducted?
No, from the period that the law was approved, you conducted the raids afterwards, right? I remember seeing you getting TV sets, getting telephones. Is that true?
I think, Mr. Chairman, that happened before I came.
No, but you belong to an institution, right? And I'm laying the predicate.
I was in Davao at that time, Mr. Chairman. I was in Davao at that time.
Well, but you're not the head, right? Are you the head?
I was not the head of the...
No, are you the head now?
That's right.
So that means the information is in your office.
I will have to
And what
verify.
I'd like to see, Your Honor, is that we make sure that all those na nahulihan yan, isalansan niyo para makita natin kung bakit di sila dapat nabigyan ng good conduct allowance.
Yes, Your Honor.
You get the point, of course.
Yes,
no?
Your Honor.
Just to be sure, because, again, this would be solved. And as a final touch here, this is what we'd like to see. Can you show finally the Iowa, kung hindi na mapakita kanina eh, yung sa Iowa? Ayan. See the offender search is there. Lagyan niyo yung pangalan, name, and you can search his first name, and you have all the data, frequently asked questions, victim services, so the victims are there, and then administration, the data that you need, what is in the news, and of course, the record. For example, you find an inmate, magagawa niya. I mean, it's not rocket science, di ba? So kung meron tayo niyan, lahat ng mga nabiktima makikita yan, lahat ng publiko makikita yan, malalaman natin kung lipat sa immigration, transfer, o may mawawala yung isahan. So again, I appeal to Bureau of Corrections and the Secretary of Justice to make sure that this happens. I really think that you should form a committee right away, although may IRR nakalagay na yan, hindi nagagawa. If it is a question of budget, again, na next meeting, I would appreciate your inputs on this matter so we can put it in the budget if necessary. But I'm sure there's a budget for this. This beats all kinds of intelligence because it's right there in your fingertips, being adjusted every day. Recommendations are being made, and they would have, this is practically a portable carpeta for everyone. Hindi lang yung ilang tao lang ang nakakakuha ng carpeta. Ha? Oh, sige, we'll have a live search here para you can have a sample. You know, I was in automated elections, pero hindi sinunod yung automated election proposal natin eh. I hope here, pagka ginawa natin to, masusunod. Are you doing it right? So the name that is being placed on that is? Huh? James Lynn Schmidt. Ayun nakagad ang number niya, 0803919, sex, M, pwede ba yung shogi dyan? Birth date, Larinda Correctional Facility, burglary, 3rd degree, date, August 7, 2021, and TDD. Date of commitment date, April 30, 2019, recall date, December 30, etc. Charges, sa baba? Ha? You can click for the offender's history. Sa taas. Yeah, blue. If you're the victim of this offender, you can click it, makiklik ng victim, and would like to register for notification of any changes to this offender's custody status. So you can click it. Malalaman kagad.
Paklik natin.
Paklik nyo ha. Wala. No.
You have to register pa lang.
You have to register pa. So it's just a sample, Mr. Secretary. You've got to admit that this is not rocket science. Yes. Are you raising your hand or are you making a point?
You said it's a very...
You
Yes,
said
sir.
it's very...
To implement further your proposal, sir, we have this legislative agenda in the DILG, which I think BGMP has already supported, and the League of Provinces also supported, sir.
Yes.
The move for the turning over of the provincial jails to the BGMP. Sir, because upon having a dialogue with the governors, they have already expressed their sentiments of having difficulty.
We will take note, but the point here is that this will include, Mr. Secretary, and BJMP, is it here? Is it here?
It's here, sir.
Oo. Kasama kayo dyan. Kasama rin yung lahat ng governors and mayors na dapat meron silang sariling set para malalaman yung mga detention prisoners kung sino overstay, kung may mga minors. This would be very helpful to our country, I think. Alright? At makikita natin right away kung anong overload. We can even show pictures there right away of what's happening inside. You have CCTV there, no? By the way, do you have a CCTV in your office? I'm sure you have, no? Muntinlupa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can we subpoena the times that the Sanchez family visited you para lang malaman natin yung time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you send the CCTV footage of that? No?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, para walang duda. All right? So, thank you very much. In the meantime, I will write, yes, ma'am.
Ayan, sir. Good afternoon po ulit.
Ave Maria.
Ave Marie, sir.
Ave Marie.
Opo. I hate this.
I can have somebody sing that for you. Go ahead.
So, first, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Senate for inviting us para nabigyan po kami ng pagkakataon na masabing yung side namin, like katulad nga po na tinanong kanina ni Senator Bong Revilla regarding dun sa fake news na my father attended a birthday party pero ang totoo po ay nasa ospital po siya.
Kumakalat yun, ha?
Opo, kumakalat nga po yan, and that includes me, di ba po, personally. And nakakalungkot po dahil ito po ay nangyari nga po noong July 2018. Meron po akong detailed dates kung kailan po na yung picture was taken at dun po sa ospital. Second po, I wanna take this opportunity rin po na mabigyan po ng tsansa na makapakita po sa inyo po, sa lahat po siguro ng nandito rin na media, ito pong affidavit na dala namin. Kasi po kanina po sa binanggit po ni General Paldon, he was telling na merong sa drugs ang akin pong ama, pero wala po sa record ng Bilibid. Ito po siguro ang makakasagot kung bakit po wala po sa record ng Bilibid ang drugs po na inyo po, ng media po na sinasabi ay nakuha sa selda po ng aking ama. The 2006 drug thing na sinasabi nila...
Ano yung sinasabi mo? Draft ng ano?
Drugs po, sir. Yung issue po sa drugs. Drugs issue. Yung 2006 po, he was acquitted. Ito po. And then another issue na sinasabing pwedeng makabawas po sa GCTA na aking ama was the 2010 issue na merong news na ex-Mayor Sanchez nahulihan ng 1 kilong shabu. And ito po, ang affidavit po ni Undersecretary Den Oscar Calderon and Superintendent Den Armando Miranda na wala pong nakuhang 1 kilo ng shabu noon at sila po ay nakita lang din nila ang news na sinulat nitong certain Lord at Bonilla. Tinanong po nila, inimbestigahan po nila, wala pong ganung pangyayari. Wala pong nakuhang 1 kilong shabu sa selda po na aking ama na dating Mayor Antonio
Sabi
Sanchez.
ni Senator Subiri, baka half kilo.
Hindi po, wala po. Wala po kahit Senator Subiri.
Walang
Opo, ito po.
Sinabi 1 kilo, sabihin ni Senator Subiri.
Wala pong insidente na searching, wala pong insidente na kahit ano. Ito pong sworn statement nila na ready ko rin pong ibigay sa inyo just to clarify things din po. Kasi alam ko naman po na alam ko po ito po ginagawa ninyo para makatulong po, di ba po, mailabas ang katotohanan. At napaka-unfair naman po kung sasabihin na yung dahil sa media na sa drugs po, 2006 and 2010, ito po malinaw pa po ang affidavit ng dati pong direktor, Oscar Calderon, wala pong ganung pangyayari. At 2006, acquitted po ang aking ama sa
Pakisabit na lang yan, Iha, no?
Opo, ito nga po ang aming reason. Maraming
We
salamat
will take that into consideration.
Okay po, salamat.
Go ahead, please.
Final question to the Bureau of Corrections. So, what is it true or is it not true that he was caught with drugs at any point in time in his incarceration? Yung nabasa ko nga yung case na yun, yung una yung nahuling drugs tapos na-acquit siya. What was the reason for acquittal? Was it the handling of evidence? But was it really found in his possession? Because there's many ways you can be acquitted. We'd like to find out the elements of his acquittal. Why was he acquitted? Was it the wrong handling of evidence or is nothing found?
That is the appraisal of me by the legal officer. The reported shabu was in 2006. That's what was acquitted in 2011. And it is since Section 21, the transfer of of evidence, chain of custody of evidences.
That's
It's
it.
really
That's
a
it.
technicality.
So it was a technicality.
Yes,
The record showed that his kabul or whatever you call it, his room, had shabu at the time.
that's because it progressed to court litigation in the court of Muntinlupa from 2006 to 2011. I think she was referring to the reported Shabu in 2010. That is where I think she was referring to that
Initially,
affidavit. So there were two instances of reported
yes.
Shabu, 2006 and 2010.
And
Your
some
Honor.
of your records, there were. He was in possession.
2006, that's already confirmed. For the 2010, I would look into the record because she has in possession of this affidavit by then Director Calderon of the Bureau of Corrections, Your Honor.
You submit to the committee the findings on your part of the Bureau of Corrections on these two incidences.
We will, Your Honor.
My attention was just called by the staff of Senator Zubiri and the staff of the Senate na hindi notarized yung affidavit nyo. So, kailangan verified yan. Under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so, just,
Oo nga.
and then you have a letter to Secretary Panelo seeking for his help, no? I just need this, no? Nakalagay 18 attachments. Can you give me the attachments? I think this includes all the recommendations that were given on behalf of your father by different personalities. Would that be possible? Yeah.
I
I'm
cannot
referring to
answer
a
for that,
letter
maybe,
sent,
Mr. Senator. Because I'm not Marie Antonelli.
February 8, 2018. I'm sorry, Himaymay.
Yes.
Yes, Maymay. Oh, Maymay, have you taken the oath? Okay, pakitaas ang kamay. Say your name. Makilakas lang doon sa microphone. No?
Maria Antonelli VJ Sanchez po.
And known as Maymay, right? This swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth to help you God,
Yes, Your Honor.
especially in this proceeding. Thank you. So, you wrote a letter to Secretary Panelo seeking his help, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And again, I emphasize, walang naging say-say yun, no? Dahil dininay, in fairness to Secretary Panelo and all the others. But nakalagay dito, may 18 other, may attachments dito. I would like to get copies of those attachments.
Your Honor, excuse me, yung copy po yan ay finoward po namin sa Board of Pardons and Parole.
But you don't have a copy yourself?
Wala na po sa akin, sir. Kailangan po kasi original copy po ang i-submit namin, Your Honor.
You sent it by email. My attention was called, it was sent by email, so it should be in your possession.
I'll check that one po, pero the original one po, we send it po sa
Alright,
Board of Pardons and Parole.
The Bureau of Pardons and Parole is requested or directed to give us a copy of the 18 attachments.
Your Honor, we have already submitted all the copies of, including the attachment.
But we got only 4 or 5. Meron ba sa inyo Blue Ribbon? Justice Committee, Justice Secretary? Ano ba? Ilan lang binigay sa inyong attachments? Ano ko namin kay Brion, kay Mrs. Imelda Marcos, Secretary Panelo,
Yun lang po
yung,
nasa record namin, sir.
yung mga Vice Mayor's League.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, yes, it's just housekeeping lang yan. So, kung pwedeng makuha nyo, padala nyo. Pero importante rin yan. Alright? Not to go after these people, but just to make sure the records are complete. Alright? Thank you for coming, by the way. Appreciate your...
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for coming. And I hope your family is well. I know you're under severe pressure.
Yes, Your Honor.
And life moves on. You get
Of course, Your Honor.
Huh?
Opo naman, lalo na po alam namin walang kasalanan yung daddy namin.
All right, okay. That's fun. You always fight for your daddy anyway. Go ahead.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay. So, on that note, I would allow hereby suspend the hearings until Friday at Thursday at 3 o'clock. We will have the hearing here. Bear with us. We will finish that's how hard we work here. We will start the hearing on public, on the Blue Ribbon Committee, on the PhilHealth, and then immediately after that, we will immediately proceed. Hopefully, this will be the last hearing. You still need your secretary. We'll send you copies of the bills, so your people can comment on that, and so that we could proceed. Senator Subiri, myself, and Senator Soto would like to get some bills approved on justice, including some of those that we have discussed here. Thank you all very much. Sa police, we will call you on TWG. Doon sa mga nahuhuli nyo. Kasama ba ka doon sa nagre-raid? Ha?
We are different officer. For the PNP, sir, we maintain custodial facilities. It's just a temporary lock-up cell, sir.
Can you speak loudly?
For the PNP, sir, we have the custodial facility, sir. It's only a temporary lock-up cell, sir, and we do not maintain the long one, the one similar to the Bucor and the BGMP, sir.
What are you saying? You don't have the documents, all the documents that we're looking for?
None, sir.
Anyway, you called di ba, you recommended that we call the police, right? Yes, sir. Oh, ano bang kwa nila?
For the bills officer penitentiary.
To study the bills.
Yes, sir.
So, you didn't have to come here. I'm sorry, I apologize. My secretary is very eager. The ComSec is very eager. So, we'll send you copies of the bills like we'll send the Secretary of Justice. So, please review it. We'll also send Secretary Paldon, not the Secretary Paldon, so please review it. But we can all put your inputs, including the Bureau of Immigration and all pertinent agencies such as DILG and DOJ, para we can get something done right away. This representation, this Senate, is totally dedicated to improving a holistic approach to the justice system in this country. Secretary Guevara and I sit on the JVC, and as such, I'm able to talk to the Supreme Court, and there have been several instances where we have filed bills to enhance the Supreme Court. I can see my classmate Lularia, who is representing the Supreme Court here, and she knows that we're always pushing forward to reform our judicial system. So, importante ito. So, we'd like your cooperation, so we will continue doing so until we can fine-tune our system so that everything hopefully will be better for our people. Thank you all very much. Yes, Secretary.
Mr. Chair, I've just been informed that the budget hearing for the Department of Justice and its attached agencies is scheduled at the House of Representatives on September 5 in the morning. So we're just hoping that we can finish in time for the 3 o'clock schedule of the committee.
Don't worry, my wife always complains we are timeless here. We travel through time without looking at the clock, so we will wait for you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I know you have to do that. I do that all the time, but we just have obligations to meet. Thank you all very much. We thank the family of Mr. Sanchez. Thank you all the policemen, the BJMP, all of you from the Bureau of Correctionals, Secretary Paldon, Secretary Guevara, and all the others, the NBI, and certainly the VACC, and the Bureau of Pardons and Parole, and the Bureau of Immigration. Thank you, and I'll see you at the next hearing. Thank you again, Secretary Guevara and Secretary Paldon. Thank you. Hearing is suspended.
Marami na ang natulungan ng Santon Plus Herbal Capsule.
Sharon Andrade po, 33 years old, taga Kalibo, Aklan. Parati ako inuubo, sinisipon pag naulanan, sinisipon ako, hindi mawalan ng ubo. Bumibili naman ako na para sa ubo, hindi naman gumagaling. Nabalitaan ko yung Santon Plus, nag-okay yung pakiramdam ko. Nagpapasalamat ako sa Santon Plus, kung hindi dahil sa Santon, di pa rin ako gumagaling. Ngayon, nagagawa ko ng trabaho ko.
Kayo rin, mag Santon Plus Herbal Capsule na. Mabibili mabibili sa mga butika.
Mahalagang paalala, ang Santon Plus Herbal Capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamitin panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Pride Bar, hindi lang puti, kisla puti.
Pag nilaban sa Pride Bar Blue, ang puting damit ay magiging
Mas puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito.
sa Pride Bar Blue. Pwedeng hindi na ako magtina, anyel o bleach dahil ang Pride Bar Blue ay may power whitener na nanunuot sa bawat hibla. Kaya ang damit ay kisla puti at panayan pa sa kamay.
Mas puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito.
Pride Bar Blue with power whitener. Di lang puti, kisla puti. Pride Bar Blue. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing